right, so these kids took a zebra to Vegas or something. We're talking about Percy Jackson, episode 6 on Disney Plus. I was looking all weekend long. Was looking forward to the show, like we said at the end of last week. I enjoy everything they've done so far. I'm gonna get it out of the way. I didn't like this episode. When we get to our ratings for baseball, it's not gonna be pretty for me. I think this is the one I was worried about. The short runtime for me caught up with them. They did nothing really interesting here except for maybe the very tail ass end where, Percy gets to make his heroic declaration and, about the quest. And we'll talk more about that when we get there. But I didn't enjoy most of what happened throughout the episode. What did you think overall this week, episode 6?
So this episode was laying the foundation for getting everything ready to move on. And you need these episodes. I'm still high on this show. I'm still high on what they're doing. This was the exposition show with a little bit of, not everything's going to be hack, slash, sword fights, monsters. You have to fight psychological. You have to figure out why people are doing stuff. You're getting a lot of backstories. Like last week we saw Murphy. What's his name?
Hephaestus.
The one who had the crown. Hephaestus.
Yeah.
You saw his story and like how he wants things to be different, just like the demigod. These 3 demigods want things different. Well, 2 demigods and a satyr. Yep. And then you get into the whole Odyssey story of the Lotus Eaters, which is the Lotus Casino, which would play great in modern day America because you can lose so much time in a casino, and it's like. It's like, man, how did it get dark outside? What do you mean I've been here for 7 hours? How do you mean I'm $5,000 down? It happens. It's a casino. They're built that way to make you trapped and not know what time it is. So, it's a perfect play on the Lotus Eaters and what the Lotus Eaters were in the Odyssey. The Homer's Odyssey, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
The writer. Let's make sure we give the author props.
We've attracted a couple of subscribers recently that have been more than happy to correct us in the comments, which we love, guys. So hopefully you'll drop your knowledge on this episode for us. We have enjoyed that back and forth because I've learned a lot from the comments on since I think they started popping up around episode 3. I'm digging that. So please, more of that, dude. While we're there, give us the like and subscribe spiel. Right on time. Oh
yes, like you were talking about with the comments, we've trying to build a community here. That's why we are trying to, we talked about pushing to 200 subscribers. More people in the community, more ideas, more point of views. We're all for it. I really appreciate that because I don't pretend that I know everything, and all the information I get just makes me smarter. So thank you for that. And for everyone else who are just watching this for the first time, hit that subscribe button. Get part of this community because it's a pretty damn good community. Hit that thumbs up so we can get our videos out to other people because they might like us, what we're doing as well, and help us get to 200. We're at 191 at the time of recording this. Or 92. Is it 192?
92.
192 at the time of recording this. So go ahead. Help us out. Hit that thumbs up because it does help us in the algorithm. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell so you never miss new content when it's dropped. And I think we need to continue on with this episode. And what I was saying is that this one needed to happen because you learn that some of the gods are trying their best, but they just fail. And some people hold them to higher standards because they're supposed to be gods. Yep. Which these are, of course, man-made gods. And they're going to be fallible. And I love the actor that they got to play Hermes, which is Lin-Manuel
Miranda.
Yep. If you know music theater, you know who he is. You know the Hamilton soundtrack. Yep. Who doesn't know it by this time? Oh, dude, another one.
We're not losing any subs over that. Not this
we
channel.
Might.
No. We're not.
No, dude, for all the people who are watching this and you haven't seen Hamilton, go watch it. It is a masterclass on how to turn history fun, not completely accurate, but also have some fun and some really good music in it.
Is that a King's E stamp of approval for Hamilton, the musical? Is that a King's E stamp? Oh, okay. Let me say this about it's not a rebuttal to what you just had to say because you're on point and you're on the nose perfectly with that assessment. My problem is I think that maybe we've hit this point with this show where I'm still enjoying it. Let me qualify everything I'm saying. I still enjoy it. I think I'm losing sight of the fact that maybe I'm expecting more out of a kid's show than they're reasonably going to deliver into a kid's show. This episode feels a lot to me like last week. There's an interesting premise to be had here. The same thing with like the creepy carnival and the machinations of Hephaestus last week with the gate and the tunnel of love ride and then the throne of gold. All very interesting. There was an interesting premise there. The same is true this week for me. The casino where you go to forget time and you forget the things closest to you. There was a setup and a payoff to that at the end when they explained that. Grover forgot more because he was separated from the two of them, and when you're alone, it's easier to lose track of what's important. So, I mean, there's some interesting things to play with throughout, but I feel like in between the setup of the casino causing forgetfulness, they didn't do anything really interesting with it for me. They separated the group again, and it's the same separation. It's Grover has to go do X while the other two do Y. And I think I needed a change up to that, which might have helped a little bit. But even in the context of them being separated, Grover forgets more stuff. He meets up with another satyr, and they try to play up that interaction like this was somebody that was important to him, but I don't remember them ever having named him or the relationship to the family, to Grover's Uncle Ferdinand, and I found him and you were looking for him, but I found... So it wasn't enough for me there with just that. And then on the other side with the two kids, with Percy and Annbeth, we get the fluctuating forgetfulness between, it seemed like it was affecting Percy more. Maybe that's just because he was the less experienced of the two. I'm fine with that. That's okay. That's not some girl boss shit. It's whatever. It seems like it came and went. Like he forgot that who they were with in one scene. Wait, were you here with somebody else? And then when they actually find Grover, he's talking to Grover and reminding him what they're there to do. So I just thought there was some inconsistencies there with that by itself. And then my other really big annoyance with the two of them is that just like last week, they moved from point A to point B, knew what they had to go do, which was find Hermes. They walked right up to him. He was just there. It was kind of like the TLJ casino scene on Canto Bight, which is what this reminded me of completely. And they're like, hey, we need to talk to you. He's like, I don't want to talk to you. We need to talk to you. Okay, let's go talk. And yes, while it was interesting, the Luke, Hermes, dad, backstory stuff, I wanted to help, but I couldn't. Someone told me not to. It was your dad that told me not to help Percy. It just feels like at this point now, even though they have temporary setbacks, like when Percy sat in the chair, it's just resolved too quick. Hermes shut them down, but then Annbeth has a quick fix, and then boom, they're right next to where they need to be. The garage scene was stupid. We'll get to that at the end, but I don't know. Maybe I'm expecting too much out of it, but they needed to do more interesting shit at the casino. When they reacquire Grover, they're just like, hey, we gotta go do this shit. And he's like, he should have hit him with a Bobby Hill, like I don't know you, that's my purse. But he's just like, okay, go do that shit. I don't know you, but let's go do that. Like no resistance, no pushback, no friction, no conflict. I'm playing a VR game, but okay, I'm gonna go on a quest, I guess. I forgot you, but I'm not noticing the differences between you're both humans and I'm a satyr. Like, nada. So again, I get the premise. But okay. I don't know. It just seems shaky.
My first question to that is, what are some teenage kids trying to do in a casino when they're not old enough to gamble?
Bro, they shouldn't have been on the gaming room floor, which is another issue with the episode in general. They'd have never made it that far. And, I mean, if we're going to do this, let's do it. They never made it in.
And then with the Grover thing, he's always been like that. Like, his whole thing is like, when he ran into the guy, and the guy's like, do you want to help me? He's like, yeah, I can help you.
See, by that point, he was still working under his own faculties and saw another satyr. That might make sense. But like when he's an hour deep into the visit, or days deep, because we learned the passage of time is that way, which was kind of cool. Like that, like 4 days went by or something, and that the pivotal deadline actually comes and goes. Because remember, folks, they were on the clock with this quest. Like they were supposed to have this shit recovered and back up on Mount Olympus by the solstice. And we learned at the end of the episode,
which it passed.
Whoop! Yeah, which again, that part was okay. I like that. It might have recovered my rating for this episode, that one scene with Percy at the end. But I just feel like I needed more interesting shit to happen. The idea of interesting was there, but nothing of substance happened for me.
And then in number 2 is they only have 8 episodes. They didn't think this was going to be the hit that it was going to be because they were playing to a much younger crowd. You have to say this is a YA show at best.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
it doesn't even hit T. You know, I mean, does it even hit like a hard? Actually, if it's YA, I guess that would hit teen in terms of like viewing.
Like 16 and above.
Is it even YA at this point? I mean, it might even be like, what's it, MG, middle grade? Like if we were talking books, isn't that where they
Tweeners?
stick? Yeah, I mean, they're 12 in the show, so it's not really YA. Like Hunger Games is YA. Like I think this is MG middle grades. I mean, it's. But even still, like, you don't think kids would have better enjoyed some other kind of shenanigans in a casino other than walking up to the table and being like, "You, we need to talk to you. I know who you kids are. Okay, let's have this chat at a table with nothing interesting happening." Okay, like I don't know. It just felt off.
Happening on camera, but you saw that she pickpocketed him, and then he realized that.
But I'm not gonna let that slide this week, and I'll tell you why. Because it's like, again, that's just an example of how everything just happens to let the plot happen. Like, she should have stepped her ass away from the table. They should have talked more, and there should have been a singular visual cue that she was using the hat. I mean, she was walking away holding the hat, so I mean, maybe that was the cue there. But then, like, Hermes gave them the card that had the address, which was kind of fun. The envelope, I mean, was addressed to the dumb kids, which was kind of fun. There were a couple there were some funny beats, like when they got to the casino up front and they were going over the Odyssey, and they were like, "Don't eat anything." That's what caused everybody to forget. Don't eat the lotus flowers. That's what made you forget. And then Bro was like, "What?"
Forget too. The one thing that I do remember from the Odyssey was not just that they forgot, but they also were. Like they didn't want to do anything. They had lost like all motivation.
Oh
Lay on the beach.
They became
slackers. Eat the lotus flowers. Yeah.
Right.
That's the part that they didn't play with this. Like they could have played that up more. I do agree there.
They did though. Kind of. They stuck him in the VR game, where he was just gaming, which is a modern take on laying around doing nothing. So I mean, I'm okay with that.
You know, where he believed he was doing something too, because he's like, I'm finding Pan.
Which was something that would have been important to him. Like in real time, they did set up and execute that, so I'll give them props for that. That was fine. But the funny part I thought was when they were talking about don't eat anything, and they both kind of look at him because Grover's been the one that gets the comic relief with the being hungry all the time, smelling burgers on the road to Medusa's place. Right. They had a couple of things like that, which are okay. And I'll tell you this show is pretty good for there's probably a technical term for it, but there's like a verbal setup, and then the next scene instantly goes to the sight gag, where Grover's talking about, because guys, they're still stuck on the truck from St. Louis with the zebras and the animals. And Grover's like, listen, the animals have a plan to escape. They just need thumbs. So we're going to let them out. And if they got a plan, everything's going to be fine. They're going to be safe. And then they immediately cut to like, there's a camel bumping into a car downtown Vegas. And like there's a buffalo and an ostrich and all kinds of shit. That's like, it was the 1-2 punch of the gag. And like last week, it was the whole kid's like, hey, we got to go to St. Louis. And then it's just them walking on the highway, like after the action music and shit. So it's kind of funny. It has its charm. It's not that it doesn't have its charm. I
gave them a Seder blessing. They'll find their way back to the wild. Right. I mean, for the people. Oh, right. Yeah. Maybe. Well, the animals will be okay.
and it didn't annoy me at this point, but I was saying it reminded me of TLJ. Remember that entire casino section of The Last Jedi was about undoing the injustices of animals being, kept for, amusement and this and that and the other thing. And Rose and Finn have that 45-minute arc where they free them, and then the fucking animals are stampeding through the casino, wrecking shit. And then at the end, Rose is like, if we only manage to save one of them, we've done our thing, because, justice is restored. And I'm like, no, they're going to go capture that fucking camel, put him back on that truck, and if they don't, they're going to shoot him. They're going to shoot the camel. They're going to shoot the giraffe and the ostrich and all the zebras. They're all getting shot. You saved nobody. They're in Vegas, downtown. Where are they going? You know what I mean? They're not over there
Give
like...
them a Seder blessing. They're going to be okay.
Right. They're just going to walk into the imaginary trees, I guess. I don't know. I've never been to Vegas, but I'm guessing there's no oasis for any of these things to escape into.
There's a good zoo, I think.
Yeah, again, saying. But anyway.
I've been to Vegas a few times.
Never been, but I just figured maybe the Seder blessing opens a wormhole. I don't know. Maybe it does. But I don't know. Maybe it was the runtime for me, and I know they have to keep moving things along, and I get that they needed to have that, the setup for the last two to come. But I'm thinking as this one goes down, if there's a stumble block, it's probably going to be this one, because I see the path for this going through 7 and 8, just like I'm sure you do. Like the next episode has to be like the terminal setup into the final confrontation, and then hopefully episode 8 is the longest of the 8, and we can actually get Percy meeting his dad for the first time, because we kind of got screwed out of that in this one. That was a bit disappointing.
He waited as long as he could.
Right, which again, when the water nymph, I can never remember how to pronounce the word. It's Nereid. Guys, comments, figure me out. Nereid, however it's pronounced. I'm gonna say mermaid. What I'm gonna say. I know it's not the same thing. Just like
water spirit, siren.
Whatever. A siren's a little too. They're a little bit more inimicable, but that's neither here nor there. They get to Santa Monica, Percy and crew. They take Hermes' cab. He gets a driving lesson out of the garage, which was laughably awful, but it was still kind of funny because they're 12.
Yeah, 12-year-old trying to drive.
Low speed, collision damage, scraping shit. Another funny gag where he's going straight and he almost hits another car coming across, and he slams the brakes on, the car's gone, and he's like, he didn't even slow down, and then he honks the horn like after it's already over.
Yep.
It has its kid humor, and I don't begrudge that because it is kind of funny. But they get out of the garage, and then they're instantly on sand, right? And I'm like, okay, is this some Sands of Time shit? Like, what's going on here? And then when they get out of the car, you realize that they're at the beach. And I'm like, okay, they were trying to get to Santa Monica, and maybe this was a budget thing, and more power to them if it was, but maybe a sign would have been helpful, just for those of us that are stupid. Like, they shot it at night. That way because they couldn't afford to shoot in real Santa Monica, because that couldn't have been the actual Santa Monica behind them. Like, it was just like a dark beach shot with like a city behind them. Like maybe it was a municipal beach somewhere else. I don't know. Like, was it the real thing? I have no idea. But I couldn't tell.
They wouldn't actually, like, to save on production costs, they would do something like that, because they already had a couple places where they were on a beach. Like when they went to the beach house at was it episode 2 when his mother? No, episode 1. Episode 1 where they went to the beach house. They probably shot this the same time. They would have them go change wardrobes into day 5 wardrobes, and then have them come out.
Because it only would have been Percy anyway shooting that. Oh no, Grover would have been there. That's right. So it was Percy, Grover, and Percy's mom in episode 1.
Yeah, it's called block shooting. They do that a lot with TV shows. Like if you have a location, they'll
you gotta be
shoot
efficient.
everything for that type of location during that shoot week. That way they don't have to keep going back and doing company moves to different locations. So
again, it's probably a judicious use of their time and their money. When certain actors are available, you bunch all their stuff together too and shoot everything. Like we infamously talk about the John Candy, how he shot everything on Home Alone that way.
One day, 24
One day.
hours.
It's like, dude, you got me for 24 hours. Let's roll. Like, just roll film. Let's go. And they banged it out, which makes sense because, just as my per episode bashing of Marvel, did you see today that they more or less Tatiana Maslany from She-Hulk said, yeah, there's probably not going to be a season 2 because we overspent on our budget for season 1. And as a reminder, they spent $225 million on that show. $225 million. They spent House of the Dragon money on She-Hulk. Okay. And like you said, do you think they shot Percy Jackson for $225 million in 8 episodes? Not a chance.
Nah, I think it's about 181.
I was like, they might have got 3/4 of that, maybe half. But even still, I don't even know if they got that, because they're not paying anybody on this show. There's no big names on this show.
They have some big names coming. The person playing Zeus, the person playing Poseidon. They had.
I don't know who they're playing Poseidon. I know who's playing Zeus. We won't talk about that just yet, because that'll be a separate point deduction when we get to that. So.
I'm surprised they didn't use what's his name, the guy from Mandalorian, to be Hades.
Pedro?
Yeah. No, not Pedro. The one who plays the one who has the darksaber.
Pedro has the darksaber, and then he gives it to Bo-Katan. Who has it first?
Gideon.
It's either is it Juan Carlo or Giancarlo Esposito? What's his name? Gus Fring from Breaking Bad.
Yeah. I'm surprised they don't have him playing Hades. I think he can play anything. The guy is awesome.
Can't play a good guy. Never seen him play.
He did all right as a good guy in
in what?
No, he was a bad guy in that. When does he?
He's a bad guy in Far Cry. He was in a video game. He's a bad guy in Star Wars. He's a bad guy in Breaking Bad. A bad guy on Better Call Saul.
He was a bad guy in Revolution. He was a bad guy.
I've never seen that show. I know that show, but I've never seen it.
He was a bad guy in Once Upon a Time.
Well, he was mixed in Once Upon a Time because he was the genie on Once Upon a Time who had good intentions.
He was the magic mirror.
He was the genie also. I had to cast him. I had to wiki cast him because I was talking about that show in retrospect with my significant other a couple weeks ago. He played both roles, I think. Because didn't he? Because he started as a human, as a genie, and he was cursed into the mirror. I think that was actually the character. And when he was a human, he wasn't a dick yet. So it was a bit mixed back.
Yeah, he was like very passive type character when he was in like the first couple of seasons. I didn't watch much past the second season, so
it nosedives right after they brought the Frozen stuff in. Is I think when they were running out of like it kind of went all lost.
Like season 6.
Was it? Did it go? I think I watched it that far. It was kind of nosedivey right around there. I got into the Captain Hook stuff. That was okay. Not and the Peter Pan thing. That was okay. That's a side note for another day. Different show. But anyways, this show here. Through 6, this episode, I think at this point for me that the pacing still works because I like the kids that much. They're kind of funny. The three of them have good chemistry together, but it's almost too fast. Like they really are just accelerating A to B with like the pedal all the way down. And because they can have to go so fast, I'm missing out on more stuff that they could be doing. I just feel like they're missing stuff here.
Yeah, and I know what the author is hugely involved in this, but once again, you are time restricted, you are budget restricted on a lot of stuff, and like they said, they didn't expect this to be a big as hit as they thought that it could be, because the movies didn't really pull in that big of an audience unless you knew what the books were. Yeah. This is reintroducing a audience to the books. It's what a TV show should do. If you're doing a adaptation where people it was more of an unknown adaptation. I mean, everyone knows Percy Jackson because of the movies, but this is bringing in a whole new audience who's reintroducing them to go read the books. And I believe this series is keeping it more true to the books. Where I remember in the movie, and I know someone told me to, forget the movie because it was garbage, but that's my point of reference right now. Is they did do a little bit more in the casino. Right. Like they had they had the same Lotus type thing, and I think it was that they were eating and like they were staying in there and they were partying around, and then they realized, like they did at the beginning, at the end of this episode when they were leaving, that hey, weren't we supposed to be doing something? When they ran back into each other, and all three of them went their separate ways in the movie as well. And then they get together like we shouldn't be doing something, and then they had to hunt down Grover, and then they have to leave again. As they're trying to keep them, everyone in there, they played the Lotus Eaters up a lot more in the movie, where it was they kept trying to get them to eat. Until the point where they almost tricked them into it. Right. And like everybody was like in a zombified state. This looked like there were more free will there, but they just didn't know what was going on. Right. I
think if they. Actually, I mean, I don't even know how necessarily specifically I would fix it. Like when we hate episodes like The Mandalorian, I usually at least have a singular idea of one scene that I would have punched up that would have maybe take it from a mediocre rating into a solid B territory. But honestly, dude, this was over and done so quick. This again was what was it, 34? It's the second time they've gone 34 minutes in an episode, and then when we adjust like we do for credits and post credits and everything, it was 27. I mean, they really did rip right through what they had to rip through.
Yeah, and I believe in the book this was even less than a chapter. Them in the
that's wild to me. That's absolutely the same way you said that about the Hephaestus chapter last week. I'm like, really? How can that get away with being less than a chapter in a 300-page book? If the book's 300 pages, what else are these assholes doing?
They had a lot more on the road trip, a lot more stuff with them, like at
In
the
camp?
beginning. With
Okay,
no, with
okay.
when they started the road trip,
Oh,
and they're
okay,
like on the bus and stuff like that. They actually I think they had interaction with the Fates.
Okay. Oh yeah, we
So,
really only just got to look at them on the bench. That's right. They didn't have
Yeah.
anything to do with that episode. Hardly. There's no dialogue at all there. It was
Yeah,
just
so
that
I think that was
shot.
a little bit more in detail in the book, and that's where more of the pages went. Like a lot of the stuff that they're going through that is like the challenge stuff recently is not that really that thick of the book. So like you said, some things were resolved too easily, like the chair and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was pretty much just her playing on play on the
Hephaestus's
feelings.
Right.
Yep. Which was a great. I mean, how much longer did you want him in the chair and her to fiddle around with it and not get anything?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true.
That's just boring screen time.
Yeah, dude, you're right. I mean, I guess that's the strength or the drawback depending on your perspective of the adaptation. Like if you're going visual with the series versus reading a book, you get internal monologue in a book and you get Percy's, straight up feelings about what's going on. They probably, if he's in the chair and the book is told through his first person perspective or third person perspective and the chapter's his, was there a chapter's worth or half a chapter's worth of him being stuck in the chair and giving his thoughts while he was trapped in the chair and being terrified? I don't know. I didn't read the book. I guess that's true. I guess, if there was the one scene, I get that about the Golden Throne bit, but in this episode here, what I needed was maybe for Annbeth to get up from the Hermes conversation 2 minutes earlier, seemingly frustrated and storming off, but like throwing Percy a glance, and then you get a glimpse of the hat, and then she's gonna do some gangster shit, and he's got to keep Hermes talking, kind of like how Grover kept Ares talking last week. And then we don't need to see any keys jingling off the belt all like pranky hokey style, but at least if there was something like that, I'd have been like, oh, we stole his keys, cool. And then we didn't need that sight joke of like, oh, to the dumb kids, the map and how the car works and this and that, because then that just means that he let you take the keys and he knew you were going to do that, and that's not typically like. Then what did you actually
the God
do?
Of Thieves. Do you think he would have not known he got pickpocketed?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess that's fair.
It was him helping without saying he was helping, without him getting involved.
Then there should have been that. I guess the envelope would have been the tacit admission that he knew.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they couldn't have done it any better without having the hokey.
You're right. I mean, the only that they could have just done the dancing keys flittering away, and that would have been dumb as fuck.
I wouldn't want to see that.
No, even for a kid show, because that scene wasn't supposed to have hokey involved. Like it was a play on frustrated absentee
touching
parent, right?
Yeah. Like the father who wants to be involved who can't.
Yeah. True. Yeah. All right, dude. Then again, I'm glad this is why we have these chats. I feel a little bit better about that. As a guy that's read the book or has seen the movie, do they play up the part where in that conversation with Hermes where he's talking about the Hades thing is only the beginning, there's something else coming and it's worse? Do you know about that? Okay.
No, it pretty much stayed to the premise of the lightning thief.
Do you think they're hinting at releasing the Titans from their prison? Is that what's worse? Is that what could be worse than Zeus and Poseidon going to war?
Plays on into the second book, the Sea of Monsters.
Oh, okay. That makes a little bit more sense then, because I'm thinking it through like from a Marvel lens, and I'm like, okay, yeah, you guys defeated Loki, but now Thanos has the gauntlet, and he's just gonna be like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it myself, and then get the glove on and go to work. Okay. I was intrigued by that, because the delivery of that line was like, okay, and there's obviously something to that, and then let me let you take some lead here on the last scene, because this was a short one, so we're gonna be done here. They get to Santa Monica. Percy bids his friends adieu. They're on the beach. Yep. He's got to do his Aquaman thing and go in the water. Tell us about the end of the show.
Which we talked about, like we said that here coming soon we'll see the whole breathing underwater thing play up. And that's what it was. Like you start seeing him swim up, and then he, instead of seeing his father, it comes with the water spirit. We'll go with
works for me, dude. Works for me.
Type thing, water spirit, Sprite. I'll do a Sprite. I think a Sprite sounds good.
There you go. I could use a Sprite. Good.
Yep. And then she's like, he waited as long as he could. He's like, the summer solstice happened like like 3 hours ago.
Yeah.
And it's like now he's marshaling his forces because he knows the war is coming. And he said he want to let you know that he's very proud of you. You're very brave. He's like, don't let this think that you failed. And like pretty much trying to do what a father would. Like if you lose the big game and your dad's like, don't worry about this, man. It's just one. You're going to lose a lot of games in your life. You're going to win some too.
And then she says, we release you from the quest, which is kind of that. There's a pivot right there to talk about this point. This is what I want you to hit
and then
at.
he's like, oh, I'm not done.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to fix this.
Yeah.
He takes the challenge on himself after being released from his formal quest. He's like, no. I'm not being beat like this. So he has his hands between his head. He's down 28-3 with like 11 minutes left in the game. And he's like, all of a sudden, it's time to make that comeback. If you don't get the reference, you don't live in Atlanta.
Or New England. and again, just before we get into like the whole how that sets up the next episode, this again is how these shows should work. And I'm looking at you, Star Wars and Marvel and everybody else. This is 3 episodes in a row where the title character gets to make like the heroic declaration or the hero play. Like he's down, but he doesn't have to be out. And I think these other franchises just lose track of that like way too easily. Like this is a kid, it's in his nature to be tough and resilient because he's been picked on, bullied, but he never quits. Like he's like Greek demigod Captain America. Like he's not staying down. And I like that.
You mean the Jedi who saved the whole universe fails once and he disappears to a far off planet drinking goat milk? Yeah,
blue titty walrus milk and submerges his X-wing and throws away the lightsaber and time for the Jedi to all that.
Yeah.
Brilliant creative
First
direction.
time he fails.
Done, going, leaving, done. I'll get that. So I like that he's taking that on himself, and then you get the obvious. It's the setup there. This was kind of dumb, a little bit, but I liked it. It was still dumb. The sprite opens her hand after she kind of presses it to his. They kind of touch hands by his heart. It comes away, and he has 4 objects. Were they pearls or I don't know what they were. They look like pearls or walnuts or some shit.
They look like
eggs. I don't know.
They look like salmon eggs.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know what the fuck they were. There were 4 round.
The sea can always return to the sea.
Which is still better than the stupid, the sea is never wrong from Rings of Power, or whatever their stupid catchphrase was. That was god awful. I'm like, stop doing that shit. At least this is all right for kids. But he's got these 4 things, and the minute you see 4 things in his hand, and she goes, "These will get you out of the underworld." Well, you do the head count right away. And it's like, dude, it's you, your 2 friends, and your mom. And he's like, why are there 4? Like, maybe the casino. Maybe he's still breathing casino vapors. I don't know. Your mom. It's the opposite of Heroes, which save the cheerleader, save the world.
We were just talking about that on the truck the other day.
The first run of Heroes, not bad.
Yeah, the first season.
Yeah, not bad. Everything after that was trash. But yeah, like I'm thinking, was he still sucking down casino air with like lotus flower fumes or some shit? Like, dude, how did you not know that there were 4 of those meant for you, your crew, and your mom when you get her? Like, come on, dude. Everybody knew.
It was also like a gift from his dad, where he realized that his dad does care about his mom too.
Fine, but that should still
there.
It still should have been. He understood who the 4th one was for, which I thought was just kind of like, all right, that seems kind of.
Sometimes kids need that little extra. He is 12 years old.
True, but he did beat the Minotaur on his first try, as they reminded you. You know what I mean? And then he almost failed the car driving lesson. But yeah,
as a comedian who we won't mention his name because what he did was despicable, he talked about how kids have brain damage.
No, we don't want to. Yeah, we're gonna leave the name out. All right, dude, do the baseball rating, because I know we're just gonna keep that for the whole go here, and remind us what your average has been so far.
Okay, so we started off with a single. Then we had the triple that cleared the bases.
Yeah.
So now we have our Nets batter up. Now we're batting 6th. I mean, we're almost down to the bottom of the lineup. You put your right fielder down there. That type of thing.
Yeah.
But we're gonna go with our Kevin Youkless here.
I like the Uke.
Yeah, right. I thought you'd appreciate that.
I appreciate
and what did Kevin Youkless do better than anyone else in baseball?
crush shit in clutch situations?
No, he got walked.
Oh yeah.
He got the base, but he got walked. He led the league in walks.
That's true.
Like 7 years in a row.
That's true.
Not intentional walks,
Yeah.
but he knew how to draw walks. He was a patient hitter.
Yeah. So you're giving him the walk. It's funny.
Walk.
It's funny you're giving the episode a walk after having convinced me that it wasn't all that bad. I'd already decided.
It wasn't all that bad, but it's still a walk because it was the exposition episode.
Okay. So what did you need it? So what would have made this a single for you then?
To make it a single?
Yeah. Because I might just have to uptick your score here so I can take the walk.
Wait a minute. So what would make it a single? Because I did spend like this whole episode just defending it.
Saying.
And I mean, it was.
Dude, I might have to pull some creative episode control here.
Down. Like you messed with my head. You did some Jedi mind trick on me.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think they could have had a little bit more fun in games too. But I mean, also time restraints. Maybe we could have gone like into the VR world a little, maybe.
Okay, that's interesting. 10 few extra minutes on Grover being sidetracked all Lotus Blossom style. That could work. I'd have been okay with that. See, we had this chat the other day about how you can't start it. I think this was you and I having this chat. You can't start an argument angry 10 out of 10 because then you have nowhere to go logically. Like you're just automatically the idiot. You know what I mean? I know I have to save Strikeout for the world's worst episode ever. You know what I mean? For whatever we're using. And this isn't that. So I'm thinking, I've already had a few singles, I think. I don't remember my ratings. So I've had a couple singles, double, triple.
Yeah, I think it doesn't live up to a single, like, because there have been some really good episodes that got singles.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
This is the exposition. It's like watching Critical Role. There's always a shopping episode. Like, for 4 hours, all they're doing is shopping. It's not that great of an episode, but you still have to watch it because you won't understand what's going on.
See, and that makes it sound like a walk, which kills me because I wanted the walk because I wanted to say, dude, I watched them, you know, they fouled off 5 or 6 pitches and then the pitcher got tired and ended up getting on base. Like that was going to be my take. It's not a strikeout. It was a battle, but you're still on first base. You're in play.
But I mean, it's still fun to watch that 12 pitch battle. And
most definitely.
He draws a walk. And that's what this was. It was still fun to watch, but it ended up, and he still ended up on base. So,
see, I don't want to give it the strikeout, but I don't know that I had that much fun watching that duel though, because when I see again, I'll just compare it real quick to last week because it's a great point of reference where after we had the talk, I end up coming up higher in the rating because I'm like, yeah, you know, they couldn't really have done anything else. But last week was visually engaging in the amusement park with the throne, with the gate scene. The bit with Ares was awesome. Dude, that's what I'm saying. So that's a hit. You know what I mean? That's a strong on base, double, triple, whatever, however we sliced. I think we both gave it triples, I think, which was typical for us. We usually come up with the same score. But this week here, it was the same thing, except they had a casino instead of the amusement park. They had another
in the diner.
That's what I'm saying. And they had the casino section where they're talking to the god they met instead of Adam Copeland. They were both as good. He wasn't supposed to be as funny as Edge's character was last week. Obviously, it was more serious content that they were dealing with, you know, like you said.
Yeah.
But like, I think the funny made that work overall as an episode. And then when they moved back out of the Grover arc over to Percy and Annbeth doing the Hephaestus amusement park thing, they're at least moving from place to place. They had a challenge to solve a little bit. It was more emotionally tense because Percy made the play that he played. Here they sat at a table. They talked to Hermes for a couple of minutes. There was nothing special about where that conversation happened. You could argue that the scene was carried on, the weight of the scene was carried on the abilities of the performers, which is fine. Like there's been not a bad performer in the show. I mean, that's true.
Not at all.
But I mean, just in terms of originality and execution, dude, I can't give it. It sucks. I can't give it a strikeout. But I mean, there's more than one kind of walk. Maybe this was an intentional walk. They know maybe that they need to get around one particular hitter, so they're just gonna put this one on base or something. I don't know. Like this was, or maybe the pitcher was just awful and off his. That's probably it. The pitcher just had a bad day, pinched a nerve, threw 4. guy on base. They certainly weren't pitching around this. This wasn't like a banger that they needed to just avoid, like Big Poppy style or Manny style to get to Poppy, or avoid Poppy to get to 6 or whatever the order was back then. You know what I mean? Like, it was just that. But I think, like you said, dude, they're on base. I guess that's all that matters. We get 2 batters left for the show.
Yeah,
I'm expecting more of the same.
Because you needed this episode, because you need to set up the nets too. Because if you didn't have the setup, it's like going to your guy, like you call into the bullpen, you bring out your guy in the 6th inning, your setup guy, you can bring in your 8th inning hold guy, and then your closer. Yeah. So this is kind of what this episode is.
I mean, just in terms of like if there, and we typically don't rewatch things because we don't have any time to rewatch, and we cover classics and new stuff. I probably wouldn't. I don't think I'd rewatch. Like if we had to rewatch the show, I'd skip this. Like this would be the 30 minutes worth of episode. Like there's nothing here to remember, like that's pivotal to like the scene or anything like that. I'd pass this and I wouldn't care. You know, like there's no value in a rewatch for me. Like if you were rewatching, would you just put this right in the set and just go through them all, or would you just bypass this like you would miss it?
I would watch them all in order.
Okay, fair enough then. All right, dude, that's episode 6 of Percy Jackson. Now we got to start the clock again to get back to next week, which sucks waiting a week, but that's what we're going to do because we enjoy the show. King Z, say goodnight to everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Well, I meant more like do the readout, but you know what I'm saying.
I know.
Nah, just cut it. Cut it.
All right, everybody. Thanks for sticking around this long. I know we went a little long on this episode. We went longer than the episode.
Good discussion.
I do want to thank you for sticking around. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up button if you did stick around, because you are enjoying this content. To help us in the algorithm and get out to other people who might enjoy this content. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't done it already. And go ahead and hit that notification bell so every time we drop great content like this, you will be notified. As you can see, we just released a video for our hype list, where we're looking forward to this year. Maybe we'll do something that we do a not so hype list of what we really don't care about coming out this year, even though it's coming out this year.
Interesting idea.
All right. Well, with that said, I'd like to say good night.
Farewell. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Oh God, we're gone musical. We've hit the musical episode.